Welcome to Excel Magic Trick number 1011. Hey, if you want to download this workbook, 1011 and 1012, click on the link below the video. Hey, in this video right here, we have a budget, and there's a subtotal. And we want to conditionally format one row above. So with conditional formatting, there's some built-in features, but a lot of the more advanced conditional formatting are done with logical formulas. That means each cell in our data set has to get a true or false in order to get the conditional formatting or not get it. Right? So we need to look for, it looks like the word subtotal, but then we need to jump up. So instead of doing something complicated where we find the position and jump up, let's come over here and we'll build our formula in a parallel range. And then once we get the formula working with our trues and falses in the position we want, so we want a bunch of trues right here to indicate this is the row above, then we'll copy the formula into the conditional formatting dialog box. All right, so I'm going to start off, since we're looking for subtotal and it's not the lone item in the cell, that means there's some other text. We can't directly search for subtotal. We'll have to use the search function. Now, the search function is great because it'll look for some text like subtotal. And then you say, within which cell? Now, remember, and then what it does is search tells you the position of the subtext string. So this is subtotal, so it'll say, hey, that's in position 1. If we told it to look for the fine text letter A, that would be, like the 9th or 10th position. But check this out. Up here, for within text, instead of like we normally do, clicking on the actual cell, the parallel cell for our conditional formatting, we're always going to be looking one cell above. Because remember, if this cell right here sees directly below the text subtotal, then we want the conditional formatting. That means our formula, when we get down to right here, our formula will actually be looking one below, which is fine for this particular example because that's how our budget is set up. Now, I need the whole row to get the formatting. So as I copy the formula over and down, I need the column reference lock, but not the row. So I'm going to hit the F4 key 1, 2, 3 times. Lock the column. That means for everywhere in this row right here, we'll be looking at this A4, but when we copy the formula down, the dancing ants will move to the next cell. Now, what does this do? This will, of course, give us an error right here because there's, in terms of this cell, there's no subtotal there, but we can copy it down and check this out. Whoa, ones. Errors, everyone else. So ones, we're getting a string of ones. And guess what? Conditional formatting will do two amazing things with this simple formula. One is it'll ignore the error. So in the face of the spreadsheet, errors are terrible. But in conditional formatting dialog box, it doesn't care. It just says, OK, I won't put the formatting there. But the one, even though it's not a true or false, it'll still be interpreted as true. So that's all we're going to need, that little formula right there. So I'm going to copy this from the upper left corner, and then I'm going to very carefully highlight. And actually, we don't need to go down one more here. I did here, but we don't need to, because that's the last one, and the setup of this is always going to have subtotal there. So now we go to Home, Conditional Formatting, New Rules, or Alt-O-D, which is the old one. And I've done a few videos on the new keyboard trick, and I can hardly remember. Alt-H. L-N. H-L-N. And then we come down here in this list to use formula to determine. Right here, the formula, Control V. And there's our formula. And then we format it however we want. All right, and so that will work. Now, this is a little data set, so of course it'd be easy enough to just highlight the rows. But if you had a gigantic thing and you don't want to do it and you want to do that conditional formatting, that will conditionally format one row above whatever item in column A has the word subtotal. Now, let's check out the subtotal feature. This one here was done manually with the sum function, right? But let's check out the subtotal feature. Here's some products. And maybe subtotal wouldn't work if it really was A something something, A something something, A something something, and all the A's had to be grouped together. But here, if you had it like this, these are all the items, then all the items. In order to get subtotal to work, you have to sort the column you want, right? Right-click, sort, A to Z. Once you have those sorted, then you can use subtotal. Now, subtotal, click in a single cell. You got to have field names at the top, of course. Single cell, data, subtotal button right here, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Alt-D-B. Whoops. Notice that's not going to work because I selected more than one cell, just a single cell, Alt-D-B. Now, the subtotal dialog box. The first important item to know about subtotal is it says at each change in. That means it's looking through this sorted column, and as soon as it sees a change, it's actually going to insert a row right there and do subtotal. So at each change in, item. Sum function, that's what we want. And by default, it comes just the the last column, but we want all three. So just like that, instantly have subtotals. And it actually uses the subtotal function. Number 9 means sum function. Number 1 means average, etc. And so let's try it here. I'm going to come and highlight this, and notice it's not subtotal, it says total. So I'm going to Alt-O-D, Alt-N, arrow, 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 tab. And I'll do the same thing, but in the dialog box. Search. I'm going to search for the text here, total. Comma within. Here's the active cell. I'm going to come one down and click right there. And by default, it comes up absolute. So I hit F412 to lock the column, but not the row. Now, something unexpected will happen here, but let's go ahead and add our format, and we'll come back and fix it. So there's our formula. Click OK. Click OK. Oh, it looks great. And actually, this might be fine. Maybe you do want grand total, right, to have the color above. But what if you didn't? Then we're going to have to amend our formula. There's actually going to be 2 conditions. Alt-O-D. I think I can just hit Enter, right? No. Alt-O-D. And then I have to hit Edit, so Alt-E. There's a second condition. I also want to check from this active cell here whether the one below does not have grand total. So there's 2 conditions. So that one will work, and I'm going to wrap the search in AND. So AND, that'll be the first condition, comma. The second condition is from the active cell, one below, and I'm going to F4 twice. That's not, and not is less than or than greater than symbol. Together that means not, and then in double quotes, grand total. So there's 2 conditions. Click OK. Click OK. And there we go. Hey, you know, I just thought it might be easier, since for that example where we had to do 2 conditions, I went and highlighted all that, which included the grand total and this. Why not just highlight just like that? And because the formula there will always be looking one above or one below, this one will automatically catch that last total. So maybe it's easier just to use just the search for total here and highlight a smaller range instead of that 2 conditions. Hey, all right, that was a little bit about conditionally formatting the row above with the search function. All right, we'll see you next video.